morning, everybody. This is actually Tuesday night, and I'm doing my podcast for Wednesday morning because I have a work appointment. And so I got to stay up late tonight and get my podcast done for tomorrow. But I'm going to be going over illegal alien crime and how it's rising in the United States right now. I know I do this a lot, but I just think there's so many of you that are not aware of the magnitude of crimes that are being committed. And this is actually at a time when the Biden administration and his press secretary there at the press conferences every morning keeps pounding in to the American people's heads that crime rates are going down. They're saying that there's 13% less murders. Other crimes are going down by 7% and 9%. And it's just a bunch of lies. It's already been proven. I've looked into it. So for the last 2 years, none of the law enforcement agencies, and I had this conversation with Jerry Sheridan, who's a Maricopa County sheriff candidate, had a conversation with him last week, that there hasn't been any crimes reported statistically that you can look up, that the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office has handled. And that is because the Biden regime has decided that law enforcement doesn't need to provide those statistics to this administration so that they can keep track of what's happening where. At a time when they've got open borders, you would think this would be the most important time to be looking at those statistics, to be able to see if the large influxes of illegal criminals going to New York or Chicago or LA, to see if there's a correlation in crime rates rising in those cities. But instead, the Biden administration just wants to continue to keep this information from American citizens who are ultimately American taxpayers, who are ultimately funding this invasion at our border. None of us want to be doing it. I'm getting ready to get my taxes done and get them filed. And I'm about this close to putting like 5 or 6 illegal alien names from crime reports that I've seen, put them on my tax returns as dependents, because rightfully so. I think every American citizen should be able to put 100 illegal aliens on their tax returns and truly get the money back for supporting these invaders in our country. Against our will, obviously. But the woman who does a ton of research for me, it's just been crazy today with articles about crimes that are being committed. So I hope you enjoy this sort of thing, and maybe put it in the comments that yes, we want to see more of this, or no, it's getting old, or have more live guests. Give me some ideas of what is interesting to you so that I can bring you the type of information that is important to you. If it's talking to live guests, or if it's making you aware of the amount of crime that's being committed. I'm always interested in knowing the amount of crime that's committed, because it's just hidden from us. They don't want us knowing what's going on. So I'm going to be bringing up, like I normally do, some of these articles and reading through them so that you can see. I mean, it's hundreds of articles that this woman sends to me, and it's okay. I'm going to share this. So this was updated today. And migrant repeat offenders viciously attack cops during a bus for ransacking a New York City Target. So the police went in there. A crew of Venezuelan migrants with rap sheets allegedly pounced on New York City's finest after getting caught red-handed stealing from an Upper East Side Target, and most of them are now back on the streets. 4 of the 5 repeat illegal criminal offenders that were busted in the brazen April 2nd crime, which sent 1 cop to the hospital, were released without bail by a Manhattan judge, according to court records and law enforcement sources. So the accused criminals were part of a crew of 6 that allegedly yanked $82 of items off displays in the store on 3rd Avenue And the thieves left a trail of destruction as they grabbed all kinds of stuff running throughout the store. So when responding cops from New York PD's 19th precinct stopped shoplifters in their tracks, two of the suspects, who were from Venezuela, wrestled, shoved, slapped, and pushed them in an attempt to resist. The wild struggle left one officer with swelling, redness, and pain on his left arm. He was taken to a local hospital where he was treated and released. Another suspect who has not been caught tried to throw rocks at the officers, but they were not struck. So, and these criminals, the prosecutors requested that female be held on a $10,000 bail, and they asked that the male be held on $10,000 or $30,000, $10,000 bail or $30,000 bond, and he ordered him to be held on a $3,000 bail or $9,000 bond, and he was still at Rikers Island on Tuesday. That was just one of the 5 that were picked up. So, yeah, 4 of them are already back out onto the streets, and 1 is still at Rikers Island, as far as this updated today at 5:09 p.m. New York time. It's disgusting because if you or I, as an American citizen, would attack a cop or beat up a cop or resist arrest or do that sort of thing, we would not be granted the luxury of release with no bail and be put back out onto the streets, especially if we were repeat offenders, as it well should be, especially if you're attacking a cop as they're arresting you for committing some crime. But this continual release without bail of these repeat illegal criminals in our country is embracing them, and they know that they can just continue to do this sort of thing and nothing is going to happen to them. They'll leave New York City and they'll end up in Chicago, and they'll have a different name, and they'll continue to do this sort of thing. These Venezuelan gang members are becoming very, very emboldened, and they really don't care if they're arrested. I mean, they were doing worse things than that in Venezuela, but of course you have a socialist government, and things were coming down pretty hard on them. And they come here, they're not only given free hotel rooms and 3 square meals a day and debit cards and living in New York City luxury in hotels. They now know that they can commit crimes and just be released back out into the street. So what a gig, huh? Come to the United States, the land of opportunities, all kinds of opportunities for you. So let's see. I'll have you listen to this because this is interesting. You've got some of these Texas representatives. He's Republican, but just listen to what he has to say.
You've got visitors, so learn your alien etiquette from the biz. You can visit going on for help. Treat your visitors with utmost courtesy.
10 more seconds, folks. Sorry about this.
Or not, you never know with aliens. The X-Files, weeknights starting at 9, 8 Central on Comet.
Can't get away.
So Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez says he wants the Biden White House to crack down on a Venezuelan street gang. Republican Tony Gonzalez represents parts of far east El Paso County, and he wants to label the Tren de Aragua gang as a transnational criminal organization, which he says would change the way that law enforcement deals with that group.
The biggest change by labeling TDA a transnational organized crime organization, the biggest factor is that you now give the tools to local, state, and mainly federal law enforcement to go after them.
So El Paso police have said they haven't encountered the group here in the borderland, although they do suspect that some members of the group enter the U.S. through El Paso while making their way to larger cities. And in the last few days, the Border Patrol here in El Paso says they arrested this man at a local port of entry. He's a Venezuelan national with no criminal history, but the Border Patrol says he has tattoos that are associated with the Tren de Aragua gang.
So they know that they're coming over the borders en masse. They just continue to leave the border open. And representatives, elected officials, law enforcement. They have been warning that this is going on. And this administration could really care less, folks, care less about yours and my safety. They don't care at all. New York City or DC is not enforcing license plate laws, and illegal immigrants are driving around. I'm going to share this with you. This is just how hypocritical, because again, if this was being done by American citizens, we would be having to deal with the legal aspects of all of this. What's the deal with illegal aliens on motorized bikes without license plates in DC? They don't care. They're not doing anything about it. And they are acquiring and driving motorbikes to do food deliveries in DC. But many of the bikes do not have legal license plates, indicating they aren't properly registered or insured. DC law requires that a motorcycle, however it's powered, is registered with the district's Department of Motor Vehicles within 30 days of purchase and display a license plate on the back of the 2 or 3 wheeled vehicle. You can see that they don't have them. They don't care. These illegals can come here and commit all sorts of crimes, back out onto our streets, and they have the audacity to tell me, in statements that they give out to the American people that crime rates are dropping. That is a bunch of crap. Let me see. All right, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to bring this one on because, again, they're talking about the Venezuelan gang members.
Dangerous gang crossing into the United States, with law enforcement arresting members from Texas all the way to New York. Jorge Ventura is with us now. Jorge, how have these gang members become such a problem, and just how dangerous are they?
Well, good morning, Marky. Well, the Trinidad Agua gang is Venezuela's most dangerous gang. And according to federal officials, members of this gang are taking advantage of the ongoing border crisis and entering the country illegally. Now, according to U.S. Border Patrol Chief Jason Owens, Border Patrol agents arrested this man on the Texas border, a Venezuelan national and a known member of the Trinidad Agua gang. According to Owens, Trinidad Agua gang is known for murder, drug trafficking, sex crimes, and more. And in New York, another member of Trinidad Agua gang was arrested, Venezuelan national Yerben Lozada Munoz was taken in Friday by ICE agents. He was previously arrested in March for allegedly squatting in a home filled with guns and drugs. And a few weeks ago in Chicago, agents arrested another member of the Trinidad Agua gang. Aldelves Rodriguez Carmona is accused of being involved in a drive-by shooting. He entered the country illegally in 2022 in Eagle Pass, Texas. And an immigration lawyer who works with Venezuelan migrants says that these gang members are everywhere, and many of his clients have been threatened by them.
The Trinidad Agua is operating in all of our cities at this point. I take pictures of them, I send it to law enforcement, and I'm notifying all other governmental agencies when I get information on these people. But they're operating in Houston, they're in LA, they're, like you said, they're in Chicago, New York, Miami, they're everywhere.
Now, this comes as Florida senators like Marco Rubio and Rick Scott are urging the Biden administration to formally designate the Trinidad Agua gang as a transnational criminal organization, Marky.
That is the best thing that could happen, because once they do that, of course, I doubt, I don't have a lot of faith in the Biden administration. Once, if we get Congress and Senate to pass this, I don't think that Joe Biden would sign it. But that would give law enforcement much more leverage when they're encountering these Venezuelan gang members. And if the Biden administration and treasonous Mayorkas would go ahead and allow ICE to continue deporting these illegal criminals, that would be helpful. However, Venezuela has now refused to start taking these flights back with these known gang members, because they've opened their prisons on purpose, let all these gang members out and said, get the hell out of Venezuela and we'll let you out of prison. And so, of course, they leave. And it's been a path of destruction all the way up from Venezuela, through Ecuador, through the Darien Gap, up through Mexico, Guatemala. They're a murderous gang. and the destruction and death and crime path that they've left in their wake is unbelievable. So Venezuela doesn't want to take them back. So now where do we go from here? And then on top of it, you know, the Biden administration has given TPS, which is temporary protective status, to Haiti, Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua, and the DACA participants. But now what they've done on top of that is given these groups from those 4 countries, the DACA participants and the people who are on a list to be deported, he's now given all of those people permanent residency here in the United States. There is nefarious, evil things going on behind the scenes that we have no clue about. I've got a text message into Andy Biggs. He was in committee today. Unfortunately, couldn't talk to me, and he probably won't be able to get back to me. I think he said till tomorrow, but I'm going to have a conversation with him about this because he's got to be aware of it. But I just knew in my gut there was a tie between USCIS and Secretary Mayorkas at Department of Homeland Security because he had worked there before. And, you know, Mayorkas, treasonous Mayorkas, was the whole author and creator of the DACA program under Obama. He was a deputy secretary at DHS under Obama. And so he was the architect of the DACA program. And, you know, this man comes from Cuba as an immigrant and rises up through the ranks and is now a high-ranking official at Department of Homeland Security, of all places. And it was a tenuous process when the Senate was interviewing him when he was appointed by Biden. But they went ahead and approved him to be the Secretary of Homeland Security. It was a very dark day for me because I knew these sort of things were going to get out of hand. I knew that it was going to become complete chaos. And I knew the mayhem this would create, that this man was going to open our borders and basically, you know, not hold these illegal criminals accountable for the crimes that they're committing. I want to I want to go back because I just played this. I was watching this interview. I don't know if I saved it or if I got rid of it. Yeah, now they're saying that Speaker Johnson's mishandling of Mayorkas's impeachment evidence could botch the case. But who was it? I watched this video and Mayorkas was just speaking today. It was with, what is the congressman's name? I can see his face, but I wanted to show you that interview and for you to watch Mayorkas and his face and how smug he is and how he never, ever answers a question directly. He always has the long way around the barn, the, you know, the dark tunnel that he goes into, and the light of day is never shown on the issue at hand or the question that he's been asked. It was Josh Hawley. That's who he was talking to, but, or that's who was questioning Mayorkas. But I can't, it was on another Latinos for Trump or one of their Instagram accounts, I believe. Let me see if I can find it on Latinos for Trump. Here it is. All right, I'm going to forward this to my email, or no, to a text message, because that'll probably go in quicker, because I want you to see this, honestly. I'm sorry that I am a little discombobulated. It's kind of late at night. Didn't know I was going to go ahead and do another podcast tonight, but have to get this done because work is important right now. Yeah, it should be coming up. Let me see. All right, here it is. Okay. Oh, let me see. Close. All right. I want to restart that. All right. So I'm going to present. I'm going to share. Okay. Here it goes.
Who are currently at the border, having been pulled away from other cases? Yes or no?
Combating the fight against fentanyl, yes.
How many agents are currently at the border, having been pulled off of their other cases?
To fight the scourge of fentanyl, I'd be very pleased to provide you with that data.
That's not what the special agent is alleging. That's not what she said. She said that they're being taken off of fentanyl interdiction, off of child exploitation cases, off of their other investigations into criminals to make sandwiches. That's her quote. You're saying that this is a lie, that she's wrong?
Senator, we have a number of law enforcement priorities with the resources.
Is making
we
sandwiches
have.
one of them?
We have, of course not, Senator. We accomplish a tremendous amount.
Is she wrong?
Because of the tremendous talent and dedication of our personnel, including Homeland Security investigation.
Making sandwiches for illegal immigrants. Is she wrong? This is one of your agents. Is she wrong? She says that there are 600 at least special agents pulled off of other cases, sent down to the border to babysit illegal immigrants. Is she wrong?
Senator, our personnel, we use our personnel to achieve the maximum law enforcement objective possible. That is what we do. And
So you're not going to deny it.
And I'm incredibly proud of what our people do
Well, this is
every
news.
single day.
This is news.
Look at that face. Look at these eyes. This is a face of a very evil man. And I like how he responds by combating the fight against fentanyl, combating the scourge of fentanyl at our borders, because they know this is a top issue right now during this election year. And so now he's willing to talk about fentanyl. They've been denying it all along. They've been denying that, the borders are open and drugs are coming over it. He just basically admitted it's open borders, drugs are pouring over our borders, but he will never answer a question directly to any of these congressional members or the senators in any hearing that he's in. And he always has an ugly, disgusting look on his face of a man who has nothing but disgust for these elected officials representing the American people, because he's the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. He's above all reproach. He's above all questioning. We are peons, including all of those members of Congress. He doesn't have to answer to them. Who are they? He's Secretary of Mayorkas of Department of Homeland Security. That's how he views himself. And that's why he is so disgusting, because I can't stand when people who are put into positions like that. He was not elected by the American people. He was not elected into office. He was appointed by the Senate. He was appointed by Biden. And then he has to go through a process of questioning. And then the senators decide if the appointment is good or bad. American people had no say in this. And I guarantee you, when I was watching the hearings about this and watching all of the comments of Americans who were watching those hearings and the disgust in their comments, like they can't even believe this guy was put up for this position. And it was by a very slight margin that he got put in that position. So it's just a sad state of affairs. And now it's coming to light that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has really not done what he should have been doing and getting all of the evidence against Mayorkas for this Senate hearing, for them to have the impeachment hearing. And of course, Schumer's trying to just shove it out of the way. Schumer owes the American people due process. We've already had the House pass this impeachment hearing, and now it needs to go to the Senate for them to hold a trial. You can't just poo-poo something that Congress has authorized and sent to the Senate. You can't just ignore it. Schumer thinks he's above the law and above answering to the people. They all do. And it's disgusting to me how they get away with this repeatedly. Let me go back up here because I'm going back to I get sidetracked all the time when I'm talking about all this stuff. A Romanian national gets 6 years in prison for ATM theft and theft of government benefits. Let me see what this one is. Already talked about that one. I guess I should put my glasses on so I'm not squinting. Let's see. Already talked about that guy. Talked about that guy. All these videos that I get sent to me of all of these all right, I'm going to show you this video because this is reality in a lot of these cities and a lot of these suburbs of the big cities.
Chicago, and there's literally a turf war going on between the illegal immigrants that came here illegally in the past year or so and the Mexican Americans who are citizens of the United States. There's a huge division inside this parking lot. And here, yesterday, there was literally, well, right now you can see that there's security monitoring the place because there is obviously battles that break out. The other day we were here and cops were here and they had to come because there was a fight that broke out and punches were thrown and blood was drawn, and they had to come over here and resolve the conflict because the Mexican Americans are saying, this is our land, this is our property here on Home Depot. Thing is, these Mexican Americans are trained technicians, trained electricians, trained plumbers, while these guys, they have no credibility, they have no licensing here in the United States. However, they're able to charge way less for their time and for their labor versus the Mexican Americans who want at least $20 an hour. And Mayor Johnson has said they're going to be able to welcome in 700,000 more illegal immigrants here in the city of Chicago. And I don't know how he's going to do that because people are out here stranded looking for work and it doesn't look like anyone's getting any work today.
So that is the problem. They're allowing millions of people into our country. A lot of these people are coming from third world countries and they don't have the formal training and understanding of trade work here in the United States. They don't know the building codes. They don't know, they do things. They build a home in Mexico a lot different than how they build a home here in the United States. We have safety protocols. We've got safety, you got building permits, that type of thing. These people come into our country and don't understand how this all works here in the United States. And on top of that, they charge way less because they're not credible, licensed, knowledgeable electricians or plumbers. And so they charge a lot less. And this is why the Chamber of Commerce and a lot of these construction businesses, the labor boards, the unions rather, they all want these people in here because they know that the unions can fight for these people for a much lower wage and, act like they're being successful protecting and representing all of these union workers when in fact, all they're doing is ripping them off and probably going to be promoting illegal workers so much more than they are American workers. But the Home Depots are a perfect example because here in Arizona, we've got tons of Mexican Americans and there are some illegals who've been here for a while. It's not the ones who are coming over the border right now, but they hang out at Home Depot and certain corners in Mesa, Arizona that landscapers and people know they can drive by and 5 or 6 of them will jump in the back of their pickup and they'll take them to a job site and drop them back off where they picked them up. That goes on all the time. It's going on for years and decades here. But then there's the other side to that story. Because a lot of these illegals who are standing on the street corner or at the Home Depot, And even some of them are kind of entrepreneurial, and they start their own businesses, and then they tell people, you need to give me 50% up front, and I'm going to build a cabana and a fireplace and put pavers and all kinds of stuff in your backyard. And the property owners give them a 50% deposit up front, and these illegals never show up. There's no way to trace them. A lot of people have been duped out of their money because all in the sense of, but they're saving me 50% of what a Mexican American or an American or a landscaping company or a reputable business would be charging me. Well, you get what you pay for. And a lot of that stuff that they put in the backyard, even if they're doing electrical work or plumbing, they don't have the proper permits. You don't know if they're doing it to code in your city. And so you're taking a huge risk by doing that sort of thing. It's crazy. We did that one. So the Louisiana Senate, let me share this one with you. The Louisiana Senate has now advanced a bill similar to the Texas bill. Louisiana Senate advances bill similar to Texas's migrant arrest law. So Louisiana's Republican-controlled Senate advanced a bill Tuesday that would empower state and local law enforcement to arrest and jail people in the state who entered the U.S. illegally, similar to embattled legislation in Texas. Amid national fights between the Republican states and Democratic President Joe Biden over how and who should enforce the U.S.-Mexican border, Louisiana joins a growing list of legislatures seeking to expand state authority over border enforcement. Proponents of the bill, such as the legislation's author, GOP State Senator Valeria Hodges, says Louisiana has the right to defend our nation. And she's right. Hodges has accused the federal government of neglecting responsibilities to enforce immigration law, an argument heard from GOP leaders across the country. So, Biden says that administration and their spokespeople, they all say that he doesn't have the authority to change immigration law. Congress needs to do something. Well, you sure as the heck have the authority to strike all the executive orders that Trump put into place that had stopped illegal immigration. So all you need to do, Joey, is pick up your pen and write a new executive order and get things back into place the way that they were. And, before the 2016 election, they were so convinced that Hillary was going to win that they had huge caravans coming up to the U.S.-Mexico border, and they were staged there waiting for the election to happen. And when Trump was voted into office, it was a huge upset to the One World Order, United Nations, Catholic Charities, to all these people who were poised and waiting for the funding and the go-ahead to start the international invasion of the United States. So, once they had the word out that Biden was going to win in 2020, the fix was in. They all knew it internationally that what was going to happen. They again started having all these caravans show up at the border, especially when Biden said in some of his debates that we're going to open our borders. We want anybody and everybody to come to the United States. That message was blasted out worldwide. And so that's why we're in the position that we're in. But we have a right as a state. And of course, this needs to be done in Arizona because we have over 300 miles of unsecured border in Arizona. We have very little, the border security wall that Trump was putting up. He did some in southern Arizona, and there was some previously put up, but it's wide open, folks, with 4 strands of barbed wire. Some areas it's only 3 strands. So we need to pass something like this in Arizona. And the legislators who are down at the border, down at the Capitol, they've been working on this type of legislation. And of course, we've got the veto queen, Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs, who will never, ever sign anything about securing our border. And every single Democrat who's in the state house and the state Senate here in Arizona, none of them will back up any of that border security legislation because the Democrats tell them exactly what they're going to do, how they're going to vote, when they can speak, when they need to shut up. They are puppets of this Democratic machine that is trying to take over this country and make it nearly impossible for conservative lawmakers to do anything good in states, at a city level, at a county level, and definitely at a federal level. It's disgusting what really is going on. So this, hold on a second. I did a whole podcast yesterday, which was Tuesday, about this video. And this is only phase 2 of Biden's border invasion plan. Wait until phase 4 begins. And I'm going to I posted this link on my Angel Families page on Facebook. And you definitely need to go to Angel Families on Facebook. You'll be able to find this video about it only being phase 2 of Biden's border invasion, and definitely watch this. I think it's 21 minutes.
Well, phase 2.
It's about 22 minutes long. And
of President Biden's border invasion has begun. Phase 2. What is phase 2? Well, let's listen to an integration specialist from the Catholic Charities explain how phase 2 has just begun. Listen.
I'm Claire Roining, the Refugee Integration Specialist at Catholic Charities Milwaukee. Welcome Corps is a private refugee resettlement sponsorship program that allows private sponsors who are U.S. citizens or green card holders to help refugees who are in other countries.
This allows green card holders, which is what this administration has done to every illegal who's come across the border, claiming amnesty. They have given them green cards and now permanent residency. So all of these people, over 10 million that Biden has left in, is going to be allowed to sponsor their family members, friends, fellow gang members. They can sponsor them to come into the United States. And Catholic Charities will be the ones providing the financial support for these people. So the sponsors, AKA the illegal who came across the border, AKA the terrorists who came across the border last week, can sign up to sponsor 4 more terrorists to come into the country, and they don't have to fill out a I-134 form that says, I can financially support these people. No, the Biden administration is now allowing Catholic Charities and all these other NGOs who are getting millions and billions of dollars from the federal government, AKA taxpayer money, they are allowing them to be the financial responsible parties.
To enter the United States through the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program. Now that the program has reached phase 2, we may begin working on our applications to sponsor our friends and family.
So what in the world is going on here? And what is the Catholic Charities? How are they integrating and bringing in illegal aliens into the United States with the backing of the Biden administration? What is actually happening here right under our noses? Let's bring in J.J. Carroll. He's the author of Invaded, of course, veteran of the Customs and Border Patrol for many, many years as a supervisor, has written an amazing book on this. And I have to say, JJ, when you sent me this information, I was just blown away. And I think Americans have no idea what's happening. So first of all, let's start at the start of this. What is phase 2 of this entire border invasion process?
Okay. First off, thanks for having me back on. And phase 2, I witnessed this throughout my career, not to the level that it's happening now. I could never imagine what they're doing, but I watched this phase system come through. Phase 1, flood the system with millions of illegal aliens. Throughout my career, I saw this happening. Phase 2 is allowing permanent resident aliens called lappers or people with green cards and United States citizens to sponsor illegal immigrants from foreign nations into America. But the arrogance of this administration working through the NGOs have spilled the beans, if you will. Nobody knows there's phases unless you were inside the belly of the beast and watched it through your career. Phase 1, millions of people coming into America illegally. Phase 1 doesn't end, mind you. It just continues on. But phase 2 is bringing more foreign nationals into America under the guise of being sponsored. And to understand what sponsorship is, if I'm a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, I'm allowed to sponsor my family members to come into America, which is great. If I'm married to someone, say from the Philippines, and I want to bring them in legally, there's a process for that. Or I'm a lapper and I want to do that. I have no problem with that. However, what the Biden administration has done through Mayorkas and the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, USCIS, has done is they've labeled all of the millions of people that have been paroled in as legal residents, lawfully permanent residents. So now they bestowed that title, which is they're illegal aliens. You can call them parole, asylum, whatever. When these individuals come in, Clayton, they get about 60 to 90 days to see an immigration inspector or immigration judge. They can't see an immigration judge in New York City to 2032. California is 2027 and beyond. They're never going to see an immigration judge, so they go out of status and thus become illegal aliens. So the USCIS has bestowed legal resident status on illegal aliens. So now illegal aliens can sponsor their family members to come into America.
So illegal immigrants now have legal authority to sponsor other illegal immigrants, even though they're not here legally, and they're still awaiting even seeing immigration judge, which is pushed off by 10, 15, 20 years because they're all backed up so much that they can't do it.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. So the Center.
So I wanted to play some of this because I want you to be intrigued enough to go to the Angel Family's Facebook page and find where I have posted this video and finish listening to it. This is some evil doings, man. This is an evil regime who is hell-bent on destroying the United States of America. You know, let's just use 10 million as a rounded up number, a little, nice little number, 10 million people. We know it's way more than that in the 3 years Biden has been in office. But if each permanent resident / green card holder is able to sponsor 4 people to come here, that will equal an additional 40 million people who these 10 million will be able to bring into the United States. So this is a very important revelation, and it's very important information. And this is a conversation I want to have with Andy Biggs to say, what are you guys doing about this? I don't understand how Secretary Mayorkas, he's accountable to Congress. The dude doesn't seem to understand he has accountability to Congress for his actions and what he's doing and how he's spending the money. And he is basically taking it upon himself to change immigration laws in the United States. This isn't what the Department of Homeland Security Secretary's job description is, folks. The Secretary of Department of Homeland Security should be working on programs. It was brought into existence after 9/11 to protect the homeland from foreign and domestic threats of terrorism, to protect the United States from foreign terrorist threats. And you've got the Secretary of Homeland Security allowing terrorists and illegal criminals to walk over our borders, integrate themselves into the United States, and now they're giving them permanent residency status. How is this even legal? How is this going unchecked? You can't, even if we're all confident that Trump is going to win in November, he's not going to take office until January 20th of 2025. What damage, untold damage, is going to happen to this country between now and then? especially when you've got these ballsy NGOs like Catholic Charities who put these videos out. And that woman, let me go back to my page from today on the podcast because it just makes me so mad listening to her. The Catholic Charities of Milwaukee Integration Specialist. And we're implementing phase 2 of this administration's illegal invasion of the United States. Who is she? Who are Catholic Charities to be implementing the distribution of these people throughout the United States? Who is Catholic Charities that the Biden administration has turned over $3 billion to them since he took office 3 years ago? They have been given $3 billion of taxpayer money. Who the hell are they to get $3 billion of taxpayer money? This is insanity, folks. Total insanity, what is going on. And then you've got Mayorkas that comes in to answer to Congress as they have these questions for him, and he's a pompous ass and lies through his teeth. I just don't even feel like we live in the United States anymore. Let me see. Some of those are in Spanish. I don't want to go through translating them. Let's see. That we already know. So, a suspect is accused of driving to a woman's home to collect money for a scam, a Netflix scam. He was a phone scammer and was threatening this woman. An undocumented married man in Florida came through illegally. Let me see. An undocumented let me share this with you because you can't see what I'm reading off of. I can see it, but you can't. So, an undocumented married man who'd been deported is charged with raping a fellow hotel guest. This was just today, folks. A woman told sheriff's deputies she was just raped by a man she invited back to her hotel room for a few drinks. The authorities say they arrested the man who was in the U.S. illegally, and they later learned that he'd been deported back in 2019. Let's see. The victim told authorities that the suspect has pushed her onto the bed and forced himself on her without a contraceptive. Then he ran away. The victim was taken to a hospital. Investigators watched a surveillance video which showed the victim talking with the suspect, who followed the victim back to her room. And the last video shows a suspect running out of the victim's hotel room. So it was kind of silly of this woman to have him back to her room, but it still doesn't make it okay for this person to rape her. Let me see. The list, I mean, I could be here all night going through all of these crimes. It's so disgusting. So a teen illegal immigrant is arrested in connection to murder and mutilation of a California man found in a car. So I'm going to go ahead. I hope there isn't an ad. Want to talk. This is Chad Wolf, who was the former acting secretary of Department of Homeland Security. And of course, Tom Homan here, who was the director at ICE. And it talks about, I'm going to play that video for you in a minute, but this 18-year-old illegal immigrant was arrested in connection in the murder of a California man that was found mutilated inside his car back in January. On Friday, April 5th, homicide detectives with the Fresno County Sheriff's Office arrested the teen for the murder of 25-year-old Fraley Hernandez. Detectives said they determined the suspect, whose name they did not release due to him being in the juvenile court system, was an illegal immigrant from El Salvador. And we know they had MS-13 gang members down there. So, you know, he may have been indoctrinated in that whole mindset. While also being in the country illegally, detectives added that the teen is also on probation for assaulting his mother Oh, what a wonderful guy. This is the man who was murdered and found mutilated in his car here. In the middle, it looks like of an orchard. Yeah. So the deceased man, his body had been dismembered. So I'm sure this kid, this 18-year-old kid, was a member of the MS-13 gang from El Salvador. Just what we need in the United States, right? I'm going to play this video here. They're going to be talking about what does it take to detain illegal immigrants under Biden. So let me play this for you. Like I said, I hope there's not an ad.
When Barbara switched to TurboTax,
I broke 4 generations of family tradition with 5 little words.
Ma,
I want to make perfume.
I'll bring the volume down on that. So I had many face-to-face meetings with Chad Wolf when he was acting Secretary of DHS under Trump. And what a wonderful guy. And of course, Tom Homan, you can always count on that guy to keep the sovereignty and of this nation and the security for American citizens. All right.
Under President Trump, and Tom Homan, Fox News contributor, former acting director of ICE. Chad, let's start with you. What's the message to the 2,000 others? Apparently yet another caravan heading to the U.S.-Mexico border, given what just happened.
Today, this was published.
Well, the message is obvious, which is you can assault Border Patrol agents or National Guardsmen. You can storm a fence, get over a barrier, and you'll be released into the country, whether you're arrested or not. Obviously, the judge is sending them a signal that it's okay to do this. I think it's the wrong move. I think hopefully we'll see some cooler heads prevail. But again, this is about consequences and enforcement. And when this happens and the justice system doesn't actually enforce the law and impose those consequences, then you're exactly right. It sends a signal to other individuals that may do this in other parts of the border, other border sector and the like. And so I think it's a major concern. And it's something that if you're a Border Patrol agent, this is the last thing that you want to see.
This is just, I mean, I'm looking at this video we're playing, illegals walking their way through Mexico. Tom, you've seen this so many times. It's a celebratory atmosphere at the caravan, tonight and last week. But Tom, Americans are watching this thinking, has the world gone insane? You're arrested for stampeding a border crossing. These individuals are hurt in the process, and they're released. Great.
Now, mind you, they overran United States military at the border, and they were released. But we've got people still sitting in jail for 3 years now who walked peacefully through the Capitol because they were mad because they feel that the election was stolen in 2020. Go figure. Oops.
Look, I'm shocked. The local magistrate, Humberto Acosta, what the hell is he thinking? I mean, I've been in law enforcement since 1983. I know when a judge makes a decision on detention or bond, several factors are taken into consideration. 3 most important factors: seriousness of the crime, will he show up in court, will he abscond, and third, a danger to the public. These people met all 3 requirements. They attacked an armed officer. That makes them 1,000 times more dangerous than unarmed civilians. They're a public safety threat. Number 2, the seriousness of the crime. They attacked officers that had to enter the country illegally, which is a crime. Attacking an officer is a serious crime. And as far as showing up in court, absconding, they're in the country illegally. They're not going to show up in court. Didn't we learn that in New York City, how the illegal aliens beat on the cops there? Humberto Acosta is an embarrassment to judicial integrity. He ought to be stripped of his robe. I cannot believe that. When I saw the judgment, I read it 3 times to make sure I was reading it right. Who in the hell in the right mind would make that decision? I'm just shocked.
Yeah, meanwhile, not.
And when you look at that video, why aren't more Americans outraged? I mean, you think about the outrage of the Democrats when they were watching some of the video. And of course, they were showing, the breaking of the windows and the crazy stuff that was going on at the Capitol by God knows who. But the videos of them walking peacefully through the Capitol, and to think that almost every one of those people have been tracked down by their cell phones being in DC and questioned in an unbelievable way and placed in a prison cell with no trial yet. But these illegal foreigners can attack our military and be released. be released into our country. This is the insanity of what's going on here. I can't even believe that I've already gone the 55 minutes. My time is up, but I will be back again. Like I said, this is Tuesday night. I'm doing the video for Wednesday morning. I will be back live again on Thursday, and I hope you all have a wonderful day today. Thanks.